Feel sick. Okay, so I'm not there today. Right, so here are the key concepts. Make sure you're writing this down. Rational expression in simplest form. Okay, let's start with a rational expression. It's the quotient of two polynomials. Quotient is the solution to division. And simplest form is the numerator and denominator of a rational expression have no common factor. So numerator, denominator, okay, that is, so a fraction is, so the top is the numerator and the bottom is a denominator. No common factor means they don't have anything that's the same. Okay, so no common factor. So the numerator and denominator do not have a common factor. Okay, so for example, if I had, oh, oops. If I had 12 over 24, I'm going to break it down to 1, just kidding, down to 2 times 6. So 2 times 3 times, let's try again. Let's do 2 times 2, which is 4, times 3. Guess it's called prime factorization. And then for 24, it would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Okay, so what does this mean? Simplest form would be to cancel out everything that is the same. And we end up with, oh, one more. And we end up with, if there's nothing on top, it would be 1. And left over is 2. That's what it means. Okay, let's move on to my first example. So you guys practiced on factoring because a lot of these rational expressions are about factoring. So let's read the question. What is this in simplest form? State restrictions on the variable. So first of all, it wants us to do simplest form. That means no common factor in numerator and denominator. Also, if you see anything with a squared, you immediately have to think, I can try factoring this. Okay, so let's factor the first one. So x squared minus 6x minus 16. My a is 1, my b equals negative 6, my c equals negative 16. Okay, now we do this. A times c is on top, which is just negative 16. B is negative 6. Now you find what multiplies to negative 16 that adds to negative 6. So we would factor negative 16. So 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. So it's either negative 1, 16, negative 2 times 8, negative 4 times 8, and then we write it again. 4 times. So it's either one of these. Which one of these add up to negative 6? You would choose this one. 2 and negative 8. Okay, 2 times negative 8. Since a equals 1, I can just replace, I can just write it as x plus 2 and x minus 8. Okay, I got this plus 2 from here. I got this negative 8 from here. Because a equals 1. So let's move this over here. So it's x squared minus 6x minus 16. Now let's do the bottom one. X squared plus 5x plus 6. So let's do that right here. On your paper, just put it below this one. 6 over x, oh wait, let's factor it. So my a is 1, my b is 5, my c is 6. I'm going to do this. My a times c, b in the bottom, 6 and 5. Now let's look at factors of 6. 1 times 6, 2 times 3. Which one of these add up to 5? It would be 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 goes here. Okay, so since a is 1, I can just rewrite it as, so this is over, I can just rewrite it as x plus 2 and x plus 3. But now it's asking for the simplest form. So we will cancel out anything the numerator and denominator have in common, which is these two. Okay, so my simplest form will be x minus 8 over x plus 3. This is my simplest form. Simplest form. And next question is asking, state the restrictions on the variable. This just means that whatever you had here, okay, you would equal them both to 0. So x equals negative 2. X plus 3 equals 0. That's x equals negative 3. Meaning my restrictions are on x equals negative 2, x equals negative 3, which so that means x cannot be negative 2, x cannot be negative 3, because the denominator would equal 0. But in math, for fractions, the denominator can never be 0 because it will be undefined. If you want to try putting a fraction on your calculator and putting 0 in the denominator, you will have an error. So these are my restrictions. Okay, so that's the first example. Let's go to the next one. So it's basically just a lot of factoring. So here's example 2. I would probably pause it so you could write it. Write the question first and then follow along. But I'm gonna keep going. Now it's asking for the product. And in simplest form, also again state any restrictions. So I'm gonna start with the first one here. Since I'm multiplying, multiply across. That means if you see multiplication, you would close this gap right here and multiply the top and bottom. Okay? You should have seen this in Desmos. You're only multiplying top and bottom on their own. So, let's erase this. I'm gonna start with blue here. So this one should look familiar to you. It's from difference of squares. So x squared minus 25. This will be x times x. This is 5 times 5. So we have x minus 5, x plus 5. So then we get x squared minus 25. Let's not do that yet. Okay. So that's the factor for blue. Now let's do this one. X squared plus 4x plus 3. If we do this, a times c is 3, b is 4. If you find the factors of this, you would get 1 times 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. So it's like a puzzle. And since a is 1, I can just write it as x plus 1, x plus 3. The plus 1 comes here, plus 3 is here. Okay, now let's do this one. X squared plus x minus 6. Again, a is 1. A is 1. A times c goes on top, which is negative 6. B is 1. If there's no number in front, it's 1. And if you're looking for the factors, it would be positive 3 and negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. Again, a is 1, so I can write this as x plus 3 times x minus 2. Okay, and the last one, x minus 5, it doesn't have a square or a cube or any, so I'm going to leave it alone. And now I rewrite my whole expression. So it's going to be x squared minus 25 times x squared plus x minus 6 over x squared plus 4x plus 3 x minus 5. Okay, so like I said, if it's multiplication, I just close the gap here and put parentheses to indicate that we're multiplying. So now let's replace this with their factored form. In blue, it's x minus 5, x plus 5, and in purple, we have x plus 3. There's about x minus 2. And then the fraction line, the yellow is x plus 1, x plus 3, and the last one is x minus 5. Okay, now let's first find our restrictions. So restrictions, x can't be -1, -3, and 5, because if this was -1, this whole thing would become 0. If this is -3, it'd be 0. If this is 5, this would become 0. So these numbers cannot be x. So that one will be answer. Now we are going to simplify. So find the simplest form. Let's cancel out the ones that they have in common. X minus 5, x plus 3, and I think that's it. So my simplest form is x plus 5 over, or not done yet, x plus 5 times x minus 2 over x plus 1. This would be my simplest form. So anything that's boxed would be your answer. Anything that's boxed in the red would be your answer. Oh my gosh, it's hard to speak. Okay. And last thing here, division. So quotient, since we did dividing polynomials, we're gonna take a break from that for a little bit and then come back to it later on at the end of this chapter. So quotient, remember in math 2 it was stay, change, flip. Stay, change, flip. So let's rewrite our expression to multiplication. So it becomes x squared plus 5x plus 4 over x squared plus x minus 12. The first one stays the same. And then division turns into multiplication. Okay, I'm going to use a dot actually. Multiplication. And now we're going to flip the next one. It becomes 2x squared minus 6x over x squared minus 1. This became on the bottom, this came on top. And it's the same process now as the last example. So let's start with, what color to use? Blue. So this one, we're going to factor x squared plus 5x plus 4. Again, a is 1. So, let's see. A is 1. A times C is 4. B is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. So I can just equal this to x plus 1, x plus 4. In purple, we have x squared plus x minus 12. So what multiplies to negative 12 adds up to 1. It'll be negative 3 and positive 4. So it's really important for you guys to know your multiples, your times table, and negative and positive. So it's 4. Again, a is 1, so I can write that. Next one we have here is 2x squared plus 6x. Oh, minus 6x. Okay, this one is, you haven't seen this in a while, so I'm going to break it down. So it's 2 times x minus 6 times, or 2 times 3 times x. 2x squared is 2 times x. 6x is 2 times 3, which is 6 times x. And now we're going to take out what they have in common. They have 2 in common. They have x in common. So I'm going to take it out. Okay? I'm going to take them out. So I'm going to do 2x. And then whatever stays inside will go in the parentheses. So this will be the factor. And last but not least, we have x squared minus 1. This is difference of squares. X and x. This is 1 times 1. So it's x minus 1, x plus 1. Okay. Now let's rewrite this. There are factors. X plus 1, x plus 4, and then green is 2x times x minus 3 over, so again, if it's multiplication, you just close the gap here. Purple is x minus 3, x plus 4, x minus 1, x plus 1. Okay. Now let's write our restriction. I'm going to use red. Restriction. So x cannot be 3. It's basically the opposite of this sign. So positive 3, negative 4, positive 1, negative 1. Negative 4, positive 1, negative 1. So the restrictions are from the denominator. So restrictions are from here. Okay. Now let's cancel out everything that's the same. X minus 3 and x plus 1 and x plus 4. Okay. Now we end up with, so it's equal to 2x over x minus 1. Everything here would be your answer. This is my simplest form. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Email me. I am still active. I'm just not in school because I'm sick. Okay?